My name is Hannah Fossard-Jones.
My name is Ethan Posford.
My name is Omolara Akinbode.
My name is EJ Scanlon.
And I'm autistic.
And I am mildly autistic.
And I'm autistic.
And I'm autistic.
With me, I didn't find out until I was 20 years old, and 19, 20, and it was something that actually I'd had all my life, but I'd never understood why I didn't know why other people would play a certain way, or why someone would have a conversation in a certain way, and why I didn't really understand why people did things the way that they did. But to me, I was able to just kind of blend in. And so it wasn't obvious to anyone that I had these issues, other than when I was on my own, I'd feel very exhausted after having a conversation with anyone that wasn't neurotypical. And now I realise how much easier it is for me to talk to other autistic people.
I feel like for years I kind of saw it as something that does hold me back. In some ways I still do, but not quite as much. For that, I tried to kind of distance myself from the issue and just not really talk about it. Because just growing up in school, I feel like if I'm being honest, it brought a lot of kind of it brought a lot of sadness in a way, really, interacting with other people at school, and kind of not being able to quite function with them, and just feeling different.
My classmates don't know about my diagnosis, but they'll be like, "Oh, you're good at maths, like you must be autistic." Like they say things like that a lot. And like I have a friend who also doesn't know, but I'm intelligent. He's like, "Oh, you're like Rain Man, like you can just remember stuff, this, that." And I feel like people don't understand, like anybody could be autistic. It's not just this kind of person. You think you can make these jokes because it doesn't affect anybody, but you don't actually know, and that perpetuates that, because they would never think, "Oh, she could be autistic, I shouldn't say these things," you know.
The media often shapes how we view ourselves and how others around us view and esteem our place in society. When there is lack of representation or improper representation, it directly feeds into the internalization of stigma, where your membership in a group is the very cause of your negative self-esteem, feelings of inferiority, and even feelings of self-hatred.
I think that a lot of it is, it's not autistics telling their story. It tends to be like, for example, with the whole Sia music drama that happened, it was a neurotypical taking and crafting a neurodivergent experience that she didn't have any right to tell, or B, she didn't understand it well enough, which was shown. And I feel like that's one problem. And another would be like stereotypes. So there's a lot of the male stereotypes of, "Oh, he's nonverbal, he likes trains, don't touch him." I feel like those are the main problems at the moment.
Oh no, Arnie. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. Are you sorry? No.
So I think there's loads of different problems with the portrayal of autistic people in the media. I think for me, the worst example of that is a film called Music, written by Sia. The way that she went about the entire film absolutely disgusts me as an autistic person. Sia cast Maddie in this without even considering an autistic actor, which just completely angers me. But it's not the only one.
Yeah, my representation of autism is quite different to films like that. They show people having, I'm not exactly sure how you call them, but it's like stimming attacks and things like that. And they're very, very obvious, and these people are very intelligent and very good at one specific thing. They they really focus on that one thing. They're quite difficult to sort of, I feel as if they're quite stubborn for their parents, and it's very difficult for their parents and things like that. I feel that I really struggled alone with this. This is something that I've just had to adapt to my surroundings rather than for anyone to adapt for me. And so that's something that's completely different. I struggle with quite a few tics, which I've always had, but I didn't realise why. And this is something that maybe if I feel a little bit overwhelmed in a conversation, I'll go home and just sort of have to do certain things to really calm myself down. And I didn't realise I had to do that. But it's less that it's in front of people. I think they show that people act a certain way in front of people and it's very obvious, whereas a lot of things happen behind doors that people don't.
I watched this one movie. It was called like Mozart and the Whale. I watched it when I was like 15. I don't really remember what happened, but I remember that I hated it. Like, it was like offensive the way they had like represented. I think it was about two autistic people, like a couple, but I just remember like I hated it so much. And then like obviously the most famous one I would say is like Rain Man. But that's like what I feel like that's what everybody thinks of when they think of an autistic person. Is just like a really smart guy, or like Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. They're all kind of in the same vein, you know. Just like a really smart white man, maybe a bit awkward, but like that's it.
I feel like Forrest Gump and Rain Man were two that were very popular and definitely crafted. Whilst it's not explicitly said that Forrest Gump is autistic, it's very much kind of like with the symptoms and how he acts. It's very much, as I said, like the stereotype, and it made autistic seem slow and like they didn't understand anything and things like that. And I feel like those two tend to be pretty bad ones that are very popular.
Netflix has a series called Atypical, and it is a good show, absolutely, but the person who is playing this autistic guy is not autistic himself. There's this real lack of diversity when it comes to films and stuff like that, portraying not just autistic people, but disabled people in general. If you want my honest opinion on it, it feels a lot like blackface and yellowface.
There needs to be more shows where there is an ensemble of characters and there is someone, or maybe even two people who you know, they're their own characters, they just happen to be this way. Like, you know, I feel like little things like that help really kind of blend it through. I mean, you know, like in some cases it can be a big part of their character, but I feel like it needs to be done in a way that it doesn't present them too much in a negative light, and like maybe we see them overcome some of their struggles.
A lot of the time, it kind of frames how people view a certain thing. So, and it's the main source of what we intake. Like, it's what we intake. And so I feel like you can either do harm or you can do really good with it. And that's why I feel like proper representation is good, because A, it educates people that it exists, and B, it also is a great way to get rid of any stigmas or anything like that.
First of all, it's like the general people's idea, that's what they see. And then it's reflected back from the media that people consume. Then it's kind of like people kind of doubt it. Like, if I don't really talk about it a lot, but if I said it to someone, they'd be like, what? Like, because it's always this specific thing, like, you're a genius and you don't talk much, or you're just a bit weird, like, but that's not, obviously it's a spectrum. Everybody's not just fits into this one category. And I feel like it makes it harder to talk about.
I think I'd just love for people to really educate themselves a lot more on the subject. It's really not that difficult, I feel, to educate yourselves on lots of different aspects of different diagnoses and things like that. I think it's really important that it helps you to not only, you don't have to adapt to everyone that's autistic in a different situation, but I think it's important to learn about why different people do certain things, and that it doesn't make them necessarily different, it's just the way that they're thinking. And if someone might do something, it's an easier way of understanding without getting frustrated that people aren't doing the same thing as you. I know that a neurotypical, I might look at them and think, but why do they do something that way? It really annoys me. It really gets to me, but I understand that that's because it's completely, I mean, we're all very different humans. It's just a completely different way of thinking. And I don't know, I see autism as kind of a superpower in a way.